we want to continue to look at the layers palette in Photoshop, and we're going to be looking at these tools and the things at the bottom of the layers palette. The first thing we want to do is I'll go from right to left as we move across. And the first couple of icons, you should be getting used to these. In any of the Adobe programs that you look at, you've got the trash can and the new page or the new document, whichever happens to relate to the dialog box. In this case, a new layer. And so that tool right there would be how to create a new layer or duplicate a layer. So I can create either a blank one, and there you see it's blank. I can throw it away by dragging it to the trash, just like that. I can also duplicate an existing layer. I'm going to copy the dune by dragging it on top of the new page icon, and it gives me a copy of the dune layer and anything that's on that layer. As a matter of fact, I want to go ahead and I'm going to a little bit of review because I want to get something done here. I'm going to go to my move tool, say show the transform tools, and I'm going to make another copy, the copy of the dune reduced in size, and then I'll double click inside the area or hit the return key, enter on a PC, and then I'm going to make an adjustment so its color will be dramatically different than the other main dune image in the background. So there you see, I'll just do it so it looks very much different. And I'm ready to go with what I want to use it for in a few minutes. So there I am. I'm just going to put it right there in the middle of the page. And we also then want to look at, I'm going to move across the bottom of the layers palette, and we also have what are now called a group. A folder is really what it is, but we can put a bunch of layers in a folder and manage several little folders or groupings, if you will, on the layers palette. That can be useful. All I need to do is click this, and you see it creates this thing called a group, and then I can pull my individual layers into that folder, and so I can then collapse them. I can duplicate that entire group very quickly. So if I want a bunch of layers duplicated, instead of doing it one at a time, I'll put them in a folder and just copy that entire folder and duplicate that folder, like right there. And so there you have it. So we now have two sets of these documents available to us, and that's pretty cool. The next thing that we want to look at along the bottom here is, it looks like a little half moon, but this is what's called an adjustment layer. An adjustment layer. And an adjustment layer lets us apply effects to a layer, but gives us the flexibility of then going back and changing it or turning it on and off, and also revisiting it and adjusting it even more. It's a group of filters, and it's similar to having a spotlight, and with the spotlight on a stage, you can put a color gel in front of it, and it changes the light and the coloring of what the light is shining on. It's a bit of a similar thing that goes on here with an adjustment layer. But you see curves and levels, hue and saturation, quite a few different kinds of tools that we can use. Now, all of these tools are available up in the main menu under layer, and here we have many of these same kinds of things that are available, but what if we do that, for instance, let me get to a layer here. Let me just click on a layer, sorry about that. And if I go here and I say hue and saturation, and it's going to change my duck, as you can see. And then when I'm done, it's permanent. It's stuck. And if I go back to image adjustments, I can't undo what I just did. It's back to zero, as if this had not just been adjusted. And so, you know, if I want the possibility of reverting this, I'd have to either undo it, or I would have had to copy the image and just hide it, or turn the eyeball off so that I could have it and revert back. So that's one way to go, but it's not necessarily always the best. With an adjustment layer, I can do the same thing. I'll add hue and saturation, and here you can see I can do the same thing. But notice something. Notice that the other images, meaning the dune in the background, the two different dune pictures in the background, are also changing with the adjustment layer of the duck. And so there is potentially a trade-off when I do this with an adjustment layer. Now, there's a lot to be learned here. We need to look, and here you see there's a brand new layer. And actually this is a form of what's called a layer mask. And if I turn this eyeball off, you see the color goes back. Turn it on, and there it is. However, it affects all of the images underneath the layer mask, underneath the adjustment layer. Everything that's below it, which is not only this duck, but this image of the dune and this larger image of the dune. And if I don't want that to happen, there is now a fix, if you will, or a trick to avoiding it applying to all of the layers that it is in front of or above, as it is here with these images. And what we can do is add what's called a clipping mask, so that in this case the adjustment layer will apply only to the duck. And so I activate or select the adjustment layer, and then I can do it in one of two ways. I can go up to Layer, Create Clipping Mask, and there you see the duck is now altered, but not the background dune images. So this is clipping or affecting only the duck. And so that's one of the ways a clipping mask can be used in conjunction with an adjustment layer. Another way to turn on the clipping mask mechanism is, in fact, to simply put my cursor right here in between these two layers that we want to add the mask, right here, and you press the Option PC Alt, and look, this little symbol pops up, and I click it, and once again you'll see there's the little arrow indicating that the duck is being clipped with this adjustment layer. And so that is how we can have an adjustment layer, still go back to it. I just double clicked it here, and here it is. You see, it's set to where I set it a little while ago. And so we can go back and readjust at any time, even back to not applying it at all. Alright. Or I can turn it off, and as we've just learned, we can apply it, if it has a downside, not to all the layers, but with this little fix we can isolate it to a single layer, and that is an adjustment layer.